Estas azantes. Welcome, video lovers. Welcome to TacNerd 1.0. Fellow humans, in this edition of Wheelgun Wednesday, have a kind of a special just look for you today. And we're going to be taking a look at one of the most iconic and really one of the more functional and beautiful pistols that Smith Wesson, I think, has made. It really is. It really goes up there with some of their more memorable pistols, the 686, the K38, the K22. This is it's nicknamed the Chief's Special, and this is the Model 36. I'll show you the way mine currently looks, and this is it. And this particular one is nickel plated. As you can see here, it is a fine example of the model. And nickel plating, this is factory nickel plating. You can see here, emblem is clear and deep. Trigger and hammer are case hardened. Now these grips I did replace. These are faux ivory. Of course, we wouldn't use real ivory. That would be cruel. And it does have a sort of T grip. This one is actually from, can't remember the place. It's on eBay. I'll try to put it down below if I can remember. Not a real T-grip. Apparently, from what I have come to understand, the real T-grips, the person running those is kind of taking people's money and not giving them product. So that is not cool at all. Now, I did still keep the original grips. They are in very good shape, and I may put them back on. I may not. I just kind of wanted to get that look. I would love to get some stag grips for it, but those are quite hard to find and quite expensive. So and this is, by the way, the original manual for it, if you can call it that. That's really about all they gave you back in the day, is just a simple diagram, parts list, and some information on service, and there's your instructions for use. That was really about it. That's really about all you got. Now, just a little bit about the history, and you've probably heard this quite a bit before these came out. This is a 5-shot J-frame revolver, and this was really one of, I think it is either the first or one of the first J-frames that they came out with. Smith & Wesson had, I believe they had something called an I-frame before, and another one, and they kind of just combined them into a J-frame for their 5-shot pistols. So this one was made somewhere between 81 82, most likely 82. So it is a no dash, which is, it seems to be more collectible. Those who collect Smith & Wesson revolvers, they seem to want the no dash versions more than the dash versions. Now that would seem somewhat odd in it, but I think for collectability, people want the original version. Now, most people know, as far as history goes, these were introduced in the 1950s at the International Association of Chief of Police's convention, named for, and Smith & Wesson ran a contest where the attendees there would name the pistol itself, and they ended up nicknaming it the Chief's Special, which kind of makes sense due to its compact size and suitability for concealed carry by police officers and detectives. When Smith & Wesson adopted model numbers in 57, that it officially became the Model 36. So technically, I don't know if you would really consider this the Chief's Special, because it's a Model 36. Now the originals, the Chief's Specials, if you can get them and they're literally named that, probably worth quite a bit more. So what else can I tell you? So again, one of the things you want to look for here when evaluating one of these is you want to look for the case hardened hammer and trigger, which this does have. You're going to look for clear and deep roll marks. The stamps, this one, as I said, you can see that there. Correct finish tones. Smith & Wesson their factory nickel is mirror bright, but with a slightly warmer, creamier undertone, unlike a lot of the chrome-like tones of some of the aftermarket jobs. That's one of the things you want to be careful with. In collecting these or buying one, if you want one that's original, you're going to have to worry about whether the nickel is at the factory or if that's done afterwards. If it's done afterwards, it's worth much, much less. Of course, you're going to want to look for any flaking or frosting on the edges. This one does not seem to have any of that, so this is in good shape. And of course, matching finish all the way across, which this one generally does have. When you go ahead and clean these, one of the things you want to do, you don't want to use any harsh chemicals, nothing with ammonia or anything like that. Probably the safest thing to use is a CLP. Something like this G96 here is great. And I would not use any kind of metal brushes. I know some people will suggest brass or brushes or something like that. I wouldn't even use those. I would just use, some of the nylon brushes would probably be best. I think you are good for that. Now that does create something of an issue for cleaning scorch marks on the cylinders. The best thing to do is get those cleaned off right after you use them. Now this one is loaded with snap caps here, as you can see. So we will go ahead and pull the trigger. We'll try it in single action mode. And you can see that is a very, very light trigger. I don't have my trigger gauge with me, but I'm suspecting that's probably maybe 3, maybe 4 pounds, if that. Now, of course, the double action trigger pull is going to be pretty excessive. You can stage it right about there. I'd say right about there. You could stage it, but that's revolvers. That's how they roll. So, that's one of those, it's one of those things. Now, as far as carrying this goes, I will say it's actually extremely pleasant to carry. I've been carrying it for a few days now, and I've carried revolvers before, and I have to say there's something about them. It makes them very, very comfortable to carry. And I think part of it is just the way the handle is kind of humped over. They're generally, a lot of them will have, a lot of the more modern pistols will have rubber grips on the back, again, making it more comfortable, especially if you appendix carry and if you've got some tactical tonnage there, that makes it comfortable as a little more comfortable as well. It's not jamming up into you. So they really are very comfortable to carry. Now, of course, yes, you're limited on ammo. You've only got 5 rounds, but I think most people understand most threats are going to be, or you're going to be at 3 shots. But that's something you really have to choose for yourself. This certainly could fill the role, a very good role as a backup gun. A lot of officers carried them for that role as well, in addition to another pistol. Now, what would I suggest carrying it in? I think a weapon such as this, I think really it deserves leather. You do have to be careful though, because some leathers, some of the tanning products can degrade the nickel on there. So what I would suggest is, after carrying it in a holster, especially if it's hot out, I would give it just a quick rub down, maybe with an oily rag. That would be great. But as far as this one, this is a Bianchi holster. I think there's the name right there. I don't know. I'm sorry, I've had this one so long. I don't know which one it is. You can see it's well worn. I've used this for several different models, and it's got this bit of Velcro here, so you can kind of adjust it to which one you're carrying. But as you can see there, fits very nicely in, and it is snapped. Most revolvers are going to have that kind of, especially if they're leather, they're going to have this kind of snap here. I know that might seem kind of odd if you've never carried a revolver before to have that. That's mainly because most semi-automatics, if you're a Glock guy or something like that, you're going to have a Kydex holster, which kind of hugs it right in there and keeps it in. Now you can get Kydex holsters for these. That's certainly not an issue. I just don't know, for something like this, I don't know if I'd want Kydex. And again, leather is going to be much, much more comfortable. I think you will find that after carrying a J-framed revolver like this, something small like this, you're going to find that you may carry even more than you typically would, because it's a lot more user friendly to just stash this in your pocket or something like that. Or if you're wearing a hoodie or something, stash this in your hoodie pocket and just kind of roll on out. So a lot easier than getting a belt on and and everything else that you need. Now this one, as far as pocket carry goes, it is a bit heavy, I would say. For that, you can do it, but I would probably go with something a little bit more modern. One of the more modern J frames that they sell that are a little lighter than that for carry. As far as sights go with this one, you have pretty much just the trough and and you've got a static front sight, and that is about it. So I would say if you do want to carry one of these old gentlemen like this, I would definitely get some practice in and practice with it, so you know the trigger pull, and you know kind of how it reacts. Also, practice with what you're going to carry it with. These old manuals are not going to tell you that plus P is okay. If you look around and you search Smith & Wesson's website, somewhere you will find some verbiage that tells you after a certain year, and don't quote me on this, I think it was after something like 1950, maybe it's after 70 or 80. Again, don't quote me on this, but after a certain year, Smith tells you that, yeah, it's okay to use plus P, but sparingly. So is it okay to carry them? Yeah. Is it okay to use a steady diet of them? Probably not. But it wouldn't hurt to put at least 1 or 2 cylinders of those through it, just to test and see what the recoil is like. Other than that, just regular old 38s or even wad cutters would be fine for something like this to practice with at the range. And one of the other great things about pistols, if we haven't talked about it already, and especially a special and 357, is if you don't reload, if you haven't reloaded, if you get one of these, I would consider getting into it. Of course, do your own research, don't listen to me, but 38 is one of the things that you're going to learn first when reloading anyways. It's a straight walled case. There's not too much that you can go wrong with, especially if you use something like Trail Boss. But of course, consult your manuals, and it wouldn't hurt to take a couple of courses in reloading as well, if that's something that you want to do. It's an easy way for you to kind of get your ammo supply up there, so you can go to the range and practice with these. So, all right, folks, that is my little spiel. That's all I have to tell you about the Chief Special in nickel plating. It is a beautiful weapon. It really is. Smith & Wesson revolvers really are, I believe, top of the notch there. I know Colt has its following. I do like Colts. I certainly wouldn't mind having some, but I do still think that Smith & Wesson is the king of revolvers. They've got such a great history with them, and they do, as you can see, beautiful work. So anyways, keep that in mind for something if you're out at a thrift store, pawn shop, something like that. If you see one of these old gentlemen, do your best to try to pick it up. If you want something more modern to carry for as a kind of EDC alternate, consider one of the newer 38 specials that Smith is putting out. So again, folks, that's it for Wheel Gun Wednesday. Make sure to come back here every Wednesday. We're going to try to have something up for you. And folks, I hope you learned something today. If you did, or if you have any comments, if you own one of these or are thinking about it, let us know your experience down below in the doobly-doo. And folks, that is it. That's all I have. This is TacNerd. And remember, stay ready, stay prepping, and keep in mind that TacNerd is your friend in the apocalypse. Later.
Welcome to TacNerd 1.0. I hope you liked the video, and remember to like, share, subscribe, and let us know what you think by making a comment below.